Hi, everyone. All right, so welcome to Sexual Violence Prevention Training. My name's Blake Brown, and I'm president of the Fraternity Council.
I'm Natasha Westman. I'm president of Pan-Hellenic.
I'm Ishmael Grady. I'm the executive vice president for MGLC.
So today we have the privilege, this is just Greeks, and we have the privilege of getting a training on sexual violence prevention. As you guys know, sexual violence is pervasive across all college campuses. It's not unique to Cornell, but we all believe that Greeks can play a very important and unique role in ending the culture around sexual violence and addressing it.
So since it's such a serious topic and we actually want to take it very seriously, we're going to ask you guys to please be polite to all the speakers. So if you have your cell phone out or your computer out, anybody who's up here can see that. This room is not as big as you think it is. If you are talking, we can hear you. Please don't make me call you out in the middle of the speaker. That would be super awkward for you.
Now to introduce our speakers for the night, Jesse, along with the Cornell Social Consultants.
Hi everyone, thank you for coming. My name is Jessie Bunny Burrell. I'm a public health fellow at Gannett in the Skorton Center for Health Initiatives. And part of my job is doing workshops like this. I focus on sexual violence prevention for my whole job, and part of it, like I said, is doing workshops, doing education and training. And the other part of my job is working with amazing students. I oversee the Cornell Social Consultant Program, usually called CSCs. And this is a group of students that actually gets paid to work on sexual violence prevention on campus. So I asked them to come help with the presentation because I thought it would be a lot more interesting for you all to hear what they're doing and their thoughts on how important this kind of work is to do on campus rather than hear me speak. So I'm going to go down the line, let everyone introduce themselves.
Hi guys, I'm Madison. I'm a junior and I'm a CSC because I think people should feel comfortable all the time in all situations.
Hello, my name is Kristen. I'm a junior in ILR and I'm a CSC because it's so important for our culture to be one that's comfortable for everyone and where everybody can have a good experience here.
Hi, I'm Kimmy, and I'm a junior in Kappa Delta, and I work with sexual violence prevention because I think every sexual encounter should have the potential to be great.
Hey, what's up? I'm Hannah. I am a junior hotelie. I am a CSE because I think that everyone in this room who is having sex should be having great sex.
Okay, I'm Krishna. I'm a junior HD major, and I'm a CSC because I think that we should be able to have conversations about sexual violence prevention openly and without feeling uncomfortable about it.
Hi guys, I'm Doug. I'm a CSC because I think this is an issue that affects everyone on campus, and it's really important that we all take ownership of it.
Okay, so I know you all know a lot of them. You can cheer them on when they're up here talking by themselves. This is a big crowd, so all the support you can give them will be fabulous. We'll each be taking a little piece of the presentation, and we're going to start off with Madison.
Thanks guys. Okay, so as you all may or may not know, New York State mandates that all student leaders receive training on dating and sexual violence prevention. So this includes a range of behaviors, including sexual assault, relationship violence, and stalking. As you know, our campus has had to deal with some of these issues recently. I think this is a great time for us to address these to take this as an opportunity for us to reflect on the power we have to create a positive culture change. So, as prominent student leaders, you are all in the position to affect the sexual culture at Cornell. For example, you have the power to help create social dynamics in your fraternity or a sorority. Additionally, as an officer, you may be called upon to support a sister or brother who has experienced sexual violence. Because you are a leader on campus as well, it's important for you to be knowledgeable about what sexual violence is and how to respond to issues of sexual violence in our community. Cornell's statement against sexual violence, which is up on the screen, can be found on the Cornell Share website. This website's a great resource on everything related to sexual violence prevention, education, and responses here at Cornell. You can find the definitions of all of these types of sexual violence listed in the statement on the Share website. Thanks.
Okay, so to fully understand the scope of sexual violence here at Cornell, it's really important that we understand statistics both here and on a nationwide basis. So we know that at least 1 in 5 college-aged women will experience sexual violence during their college years, and college-age women are 4 times more likely to experience sexual violence than women in the general population. However, women are not the only people to experience sexual violence. Men and genderqueer people also experience sexual violence. In fact, individuals within the LGBTQ community experience sexual violence at heightened levels, particularly those who identify as gender nonconforming. Last year at Cornell, through the AAU survey, we surveyed graduate and undergraduate students about their experiences in the incidence and prevalence of sexual violence here at Cornell. From the survey, we know that Cornell statistics match our nationwide statistics pretty similarly. So as you can see, about 23% of female undergrads have experienced some form of sexual violence while here at Cornell, which is a little bit above the national college average of 1 in 5. This is closer to 1 in 4. So this kind of demonstrates that this isn't a mistake, this isn't miscommunication based on intention or conflict of interest, but it's something of a much more serious and intentional nature.
So research shows us that people are good at understanding consent. For example, understanding if someone wants to make out with them or have sex with them. People are good at knowing if they have consent. The problem arises when people don't care if they have consent or not. Cornell calls for students to get affirmative consent, and this is the definition up on the screen. I want to bring your attention to the fact that affirmative consent can be either physical or verbal. But it has to be clear permission to be considered affirmative consent. If someone says they're tired or not sure how they're feeling, that's not a no, but it's definitely not consent either. Some examples of verbal affirmative consent include any enthusiasm that someone would like to engage in whatever sexual activity you're asking them about. And some examples of physical affirmative consent would be someone moving in closer, continuing to make out passionately, or voluntarily undressing. It's important to remember that consent can be taken away at any time. Consenting to making out or taking off clothes does not automatically imply consent to sex or other sexual acts. Similarly, consent to one sexual act does not mean that someone's also consenting to do the same thing tomorrow. It's also important to consider whether someone has had a lot to drink and if that has affected their ability to consent.
So going off Kimmy's point about alcohol, we just want to kind of touch on that concept. So a lot of sex does happen after alcohol. Sometimes it's positive, so it's consensual and enthusiastic and really, really good. Sometimes it's not that great, so it's consensual but not that great. And then sexual assault, which is non-consensual. And so as you all know, if someone's had enough to drink that their ability to make decisions are impaired, they don't have the capacity to consent. So that amount of being too impaired is different for different people, and it's actually sometimes hard to even tell. So it's better to kind of check in and always err on the side of caution. So the Good Samaritan law in New York and the Good Samaritan policy at Cornell, they're both in place to reduce those barriers to help call someone if you do need help, if someone has had too much to drink or taken drugs. The protocol protects individuals who may have been drinking even if they're underage or using drugs, and it helps protect students and or organizations who need to seek medical assistance for an individual without any judicial consequences. And you've probably heard a lot about this if you've ever attended a bystander intervention training. So how many of you have actually had a bystander training or are familiar with what being a good bystander is? Oh, wow. Okay. So you know that it's like a fairly simple concept. If you see someone that like looks like they need help, if you see something that feels off, you should, or like see something that has risky or dangerous, you have the power to stop it or help the person out. And it's always a good idea to go check in with that person, even if you don't know them. And especially if you're worried about them. You can ask them how they're doing, or you can get someone else involved if you don't feel super comfortable about it. And you can ask a friend to come check in. You could talk to someone who has a position of authority, or you could even call the police. So Doug is gonna.
Yeah, so it's a lot easier to be a bystander than you guys think. So I'm just going to give you like a quick example of a time that I was one. So just picture your typical like open party with anybody you know there. And so I see just everyone. So I see my friend who's talking to this guy, and he's like probably 6'4", got 100 pounds on me. And he's doing the typical like really into the girl, like leaning like this, like talking right at her, and she's kind of just like looking for anybody else that she can talk to. So I see this, I just go up to her and I'm like, hey, so-and-so, do you want to go out inside and smoke a cigarette? He's an athlete, so he doesn't want to smoke a cigarette. Easy like that. And so we leave the situation, and it's basically how easy it is.
Okay, so being willing to step in can actually make a huge difference, as Doug's story showed. It can stop someone from having sex that they don't want, and if you ask them how they're doing or even leave the party to walk them home, that can help as well. And it can make them also feel like they don't have to drive drunk or that they're alone. And it can also help someone who feels depressed feel like someone cares about them enough to see how they're doing or help take them out of a situation. And it's a really easy way to look out for your friends, to watch out for your brothers and sisters, and to watch out for anyone. And it's really easy to then create a community that's fun, safe, and enjoyable for everyone.
Are we using this? Okay, cool. Okay, so what is the best way to support a survivor? So if someone comes to you with a situation, someone's choosing you as the person that they are disclosing to, which is a big honor. They've decided that you are trustworthy, and they think that you have something to offer them. For many survivors, your reaction of the first person is super important. However, that does not mean that your reaction has to be perfect. The most important thing to do is, if someone comes to you, is to be as supportive and genuine as possible. A few things to keep in mind is the first thing is you should believe the survivors. Do not question them. Do not question what they're saying. Just believe them and support them. Match your language with theirs. Don't call it rape. Don't label their experience until they have labeled it. Once they have done so, then feel free to use that language, but just don't jump to conclusions. They might not feel comfortable saying that. Offer validation of their feelings. Understand that there is a wide variation of someone's response to sexual violence. Someone may come to you in tears, or someone may also just try and laugh off the situation. They might feel confused about what they're experiencing and how to feel about it. Listen fully with no interruption. Just let everything that they say just get off their chest. Ask what they need, and let them know all of their options. Don't tell them what to do, just tell them what is available to them. Also, don't ask questions that's implying judgment about their actions, like, were you drinking, or why didn't you just leave the situation? So, statements like, I will find him and beat him up, can cause the survivor to get even more upset, so don't say that you will try and remedy the situation or have revenge. If you ask any questions, consider your purpose for doing so very carefully. You don't need more details about the situation than they're giving on. They might not feel comfortable telling you every detail, and they just might not know every detail. And also, do not share their experience with anybody else. It's a confidential matter, your conversation with the survivor, so just make sure that does not leave that room. Thanks.
Okay, round of applause for all the CSCs who got up and spoke in front of you. So I just want to go through what the resources are if there is someone, one of your brothers or sisters or a friend, someone in a group you're in, anyone who comes to you and needs to know where to find these resources. So there's a few places to go for confidential resources. I'll talk a little bit about the difference between confidential and not confidential. I think the first place to go if someone is confused about an experience they had, wants to talk through all of their options, are the victim advocates. These people are well-trained, really caring individuals on campus who do not have to report to anyone. You don't even need to tell them their name if you go and talk to them about a sexual violence experience. There's 3 of them, one through Gannett, the director of the Women's Resource Center, and the director of the LGBT Resource Center. And those can all be found online. Just Google Victim Advocates Cornell or go to the SHARE website. Both are really easy ways to find them. And they can talk through what it would look like to report, what the resources are on campus, and any other things that someone might need to know after having an experience of sexual violence. Other confidential ones, Gannett, of course, any medical or counseling options are going to be completely confidential, just like any other healthcare would be. Advocacy Center is downtown, and that is not associated with Cornell, so sometimes students really like having that decoupled from the university. It feels a little bit better, safer, whatever, so that's a great option as well. And then Cornell United Religious Work for the chaplains for pastoral counseling, that's one other option. So there's a few things to know, and like I said, you can find them all on the SHARE website. It's just share.cornell.edu. And so there's a few options that students have if they've experienced sexual violence. They have the right to report or file a complaint with the university and go through the JA's office or with the Cornell or Ithaca police, depending on where the incident occurred. They also have the right to not report. They absolutely do not have to tell someone if they are not comfortable. They have the right to talk to the Title IX coordinator, and that coordinator can offer them resources or offer an investigation through the JA's office if the student is interested. They have the right to confidential resources, which I talked to you about. They have the right to medical attention, so we have a lot of that they can do right through Gannett. They also have the right to a forensic exam if they're interested, done at the hospital. Most people don't choose this option because it's long, it's invasive. The nurses are amazing, and they are trained to do this work, but it is a big ordeal to go through. And so now I want to talk a little bit about the faculty and staff duty to report versus the confidential options. So Title IX, I'm sure you've all heard plenty about that in the last year or two. Title IX requires that faculty and staff at universities report any experiences of sexual violence that they hear about from a student on campus or off campus anytime that student is part of the Cornell community. And what this means is that faculty or staff person would call up the Title IX coordinator, say I have this student who's had this experience and I'm just reporting what details I know. At that point, the Title IX coordinator would reach out to the student, offer resources, and offer to investigate if the student is interested. The student can decide where they would like to go with that, whether they want to meet with the Title IX coordinator or whether they want to ignore the offer of support. So the way that this law is set up is very well intentioned. It's so that universities across the country have a really good idea of the patterns that are going on. They know what students need to have resources available to them. It also takes away the agency of the student in terms of who knows about their experience. So that's one of the reasons that I like to talk about the victim advocates, because they are a wonderful first step. Doesn't mean that you can't report to the university or the police after talking to them. It just means that those people fully understand all of the options out there and can talk to a student and let them know what might be available for them that they wouldn't otherwise know, and the student can make the best decision for themselves. Of course, any faculty or staff at Cornell who you think is like a caring individual, someone you would like support from, those are going to be great people. Just know that they will report to the Title IX coordinator, so we like students to know what that process looks like. So, if you have any questions about that, you can always email me. You can find me on the Gannett website. You can come see me. My office is on the 2nd floor of Willard Straight Hall. You can always talk to the victim advocates. They're there for supporting friends who are going through an experience, not just for survivors themselves. And I'm going to end with a video that I just want to show you, if I can get there.
It's on us to always support and protect our friends.
It's on us to organize students from various parts of our campus on this issue of sexual awareness and sexual assault. It's on us to ensure that all survivors of all backgrounds have a place to feel safe and supported.
It's on us to bring forth the voices of queer victims of sexual violence, so that solutions address the experiences of all gender and sexual identities.
It's on us to leverage our role as educators to combat sexual assault.
It's on us to look after our friends.
It's on us to promote and safeguard women's empowerment on campus.
It's on us
to be our brothers and sisters' keepers.
It's on us as men to be leaders in the discussion to fight sexual assault on campus.
It's on the IFC to live by our fraternity's ideals of mutual respect and responsibility.
It's on us to utilize our platform as student-run radio stations to facilitate both discussion and advocacy for consent and active bystanding.
It's on us
to not sing songs that perpetuate rape culture.
It's on Slope Media to empower the women in the Cornell community by sharing their stories.
It's on us to drive change at Cornell from the bottom up.
It's on us.
It's on us.
It's on us. It's on us.
It's on us.
It's on us.
It's on us.
To recognize that this is about everyone.
It's not about me.
It's not about Panhellenic.
It's not about the Interfraternity Council.
It's not about MGLC.
It's not about Splash.
It's not about the chorus.
It's not about King's Torheads.
It's not about Cornell football.
It's not about ISEC.
It's not about Coyotes Watchers.
It's not about Slope Media.
It's not about Last Call.
It's not about Wingman 101.
It's about us.
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 Okay, so if any of you are interested in bringing a training similar to this, but that would be more interactive, have time for questions, talk through some things you might be curious about, feel free to reach out to Gannett, and I would be happy to come do those trainings, maybe along with CSCs, if you're interested in having some students talk about what their experience is working with this issue on campus. And thank you all very much for coming.